Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Glad everybody's here. Hope you're doing well. It's been not as cold today as it was yesterday, but it's a little windy out, and they had some sun come out a little bit. It looks like it's going to warm up following the rest of the week, and we're going to be in the 50s by the end of the week with some rain and winds. So yeah, that's probably going to put a dent in some of the ice we got outside, which is I'm not bitching about, because our parking lot is nothing but a sheet of ice. And I guess the landlord or the maintenance people, they haven't come by once to put down anything, for the ice. So I don't know what's up with that, but anyway, Jimmy Kimmel there had last night. I guess he had a few things to say about Rob Reiner and Trump, and it says this article here from Daily Dose of Democracy. It says cartoons and late-night television hosts becoming the vanguard of the Trump resistance movement is not necessarily a plot twist any of us saw coming, but here we are, just a year into the MAGA cult leader's abhorrent second term, and wouldn't you know it, Jimmy Kimmel, once again, providing moral clarity and pitch-perfect perspective on just how abnormal all of this truly is. During last night's show, the ABC host and frequent ire of Donald's endless disdain called the imbecile-in-chief out for his abominable reaction to the tragic deaths of Rob and Michelle Singer Reiner. Quote, "What we need in a time like this is compassion and leadership. We did not get that from our president because he has none of it to give," unquote. Kimmel began, quote, "And I have to say, I know from my personal interactions with Rob Reiner that he would want us to keep pointing out the loathsome atrocities that continue to ooze out of this sick and irresponsible man's mouth. And so we're going to do that over and over again until the rest of us wake up," unquote. Yeah, and I think there's another angle here with this too. Trump always has to be the center of attention. You know that, right? And so when all the focus of the press is on this, what happened with Rob Reiner, Trump, for some reason, felt the need to get out in front of the cameras and run his mouth. And now everybody's talking about Trump. Okay, you see what I'm saying? He'll take anything, any kind of even negative attention his way, just to keep his face in the fucking papers. I mean, that's how, fucking narcissistic this guy is. He can't just let, something tragic happen without his fucking face on the goddamn headlines. And I think that's another reason why Trump got out and said what he said. Okay? Jealousy. Somebody else, upstaged him, and he don't like it. So he gets in front of the cameras and he says it's the most vile things, a president could say about a situation like this. And now everybody in the entertainment industry and the news outlets, they're all talking about what Trump said. Okay? So, I feel like there's we have that on top of everything that is pushing what's going on here. But I still say, if the police want to do a thorough job in making sure that they got the right guy, they ought to figure out, any connections there might be to Trump here in this, because hey, he was so eager to come out and celebrate Rob Reiner's murder that that opened up a very disturbing can of worms, I think, and the police really can't ignore it. you know. Okay, and then this here. Ohio Senator John Husted says the affordability crisis is simply to earn more money. Okay, so he just cracked the code during an interview on Fox Business, where he insisted that the most obvious solution to the affordability crisis gripping everyday Americans is simply to earn more money and keep more of what you earn. Well, shit. Why didn't we think of that? For those lucky enough to find themselves on the top 1%, Houston has made, quote, earning more, unquote, money a lot easier, having voted in favor of Trump's big bill of bullshit, which will redistribute roughly $1 trillion away from SNAP, clean energy credits, Medicaid, and other health programs for the poor and into the pockets of the obscenely wealthy so they can buy more boats and planes and vacation homes and whatnot. Yeah, we need to just earn more money. Well, okay. Tell that to all the people that are out job hunting right now. You can't have high unemployment with people not looking for work. And right now, the work they are finding is not even coming close to making enough money to be able to earn more enough to be able to contribute to the economy as it is. Okay? You just can't. That's why people are not buying as much. All right? And I think it's, his idea is a lot like telling people, well, if it hurts to bend over, don't bend over. It's like, that's not an answer. Okay? So, John, you still haven't answered that question yet. As far as I'm concerned, you don't have an answer because you're afraid that it's going to sound too anti-economy, anti-business, or something like that, okay? Because that is where the truth lies, and you can't afford to tell the truth and stay senator, okay? That's just how it is. Trump plans huge handout for big oil and puts our coastline in serious danger at a time when our climate change subsidies are desperately begging us to stop. Let me read that again. At a time when our climate change studies are desperately begging us to stop fossil fuel pollution before it's too late, Donald Trump just unveiled a huge new handout to big oil, proposing a new national offshore drilling plan that would open up huge swaths of ocean in the Gulf of Mexico, Alaska, and California to industrial defilement. American taxpayers spent $1 trillion last year cleaning up from climate-related natural disasters, but Trump is happy to pass those costs on to us while his cronies get rich. And he's putting our coastline communities and their livelihoods under threat from destructive oil spills. Well, he did say, drill, baby, drill, if you remember last year, okay? Do you think that sounds like a man who gives two shits about the goddamn coastlines? No. And honestly, even Joe Biden had opened up drilling in certain areas, okay, that pissed people off while he was president, okay? So we know that this is an issue that cuts across party lines because people across party lines are getting big money from both sides, from the oil industry to both sides, okay? That's why, we're not getting or not remaining committed to helping the environment. That's the reason why this country cannot do what other countries can. And again, that's, the way the way it is in our fucking system here of economy, capitalist system, all right, everything gets thrown under the bus in order to make profit, okay? Mike Pence calls on RFK Jr. to step down. Donald Trump's former number 2 has set his sights on Robert F. Kennedy Jr., calling for the anti-vax conspiracy theorist to resign over his failed leadership at the Department of Health and Human Services. Pence's concerns have nothing to do with Kennedy declaring war on science, his conspiratorial assault on vaccines in general, or the troubling rise in measles outbreaks across the country. Rather, the evangelical torchbearer who famously fell out of favor with MAGA 4 years ago was calling for Kennedy's worm-addled head because he's apparently a, quote, progressive wolf in pro-life sheep's clothing, unquote. It's always abortion with these people, isn't it? Pence's Advancing American Freedom Foundation wants Kennedy and Marty Makary, the head of the Food and Drug Administration, out for supposedly slow-walking their review and potential repeal of the abortion pill, mifepristone, okay, or whatever you say that. Despite a well-documented 25-year safety record, evangelical conservatives want the pill banned because legislating sexual morality is their bag, and Kennedy has proven himself too preoccupied with undermining other areas of established scientific consensus. Yeah, okay, so, you know, whenever you get somebody, you know, like this guy here talking about, oh, well, we need to stop RFK, you know, it's not for the reasons, the more logical reasons that we want him to get rid of him. It's over something else, okay, that has absolutely nothing to do with the majority thought in this country. I'm telling you, I mean, women don't stand a chance under this White House. They don't, okay? If it was up to Trump, he'd snap his fat little fingers, okay? And everybody, you know, would never have an abortion. Men would be able to, you know, rape any woman they want and get away with it. Little kids would be victimized by adults and get away with it. This is what he would want, okay? And, you know, MAGA seems okay with that. So this is what I feel that the Republican Party is today. This is what they want. This is what they want. Okay? Gone are the days of the GOP. Those 3 letters now, they don't matter anymore. It's not GOP, it's MAGA now. That's what we got. So, you know, stop calling them GOP because they're not. The grand old party is long since gone. Okay, here's something to make you laugh. The Trump administration says White House ballroom construction is a matter of national security. The Trump regime argued in court this week that construction on Donald's ridiculous ego shrine must continue without delay, citing unexplained matters of national security. Of course they're unexplained. The National Trust for Historic Preservation filed a lawsuit last Friday, and I commented about this last Friday, asking a federal judge to halt the wannabe dictator's ballroom construction until it goes through the various proper channels such a project would warrant, like independent reviews, a public comment period, and a formal vote of approval from Congress. It is the people's house, after all. The deputy director of the U.S. Secret Service claimed that more work on the site of the former White House East Wing needed to proceed in order to meet, quote, safety and security requirements, unquote, which is a curious way of admitting that Trump needlessly destroyed the emergency operations bunker that once sat beneath the demolition site to make way for his absurd ballroom. The Trump regime did offer to share its classified national security concerns with the presiding judge in private, without the plaintiffs present, mind you, more like national insecurity concerns. Am I right? Yeah, okay. So, in other words, You know, this is like an excuse that Trump is always going to give. National security, national security. You know what? Having a circus is not beneficial to a national security. And this ballroom certainly isn't necessary to national security. In fact, it just opens the door to the public for more ways to cause problems. All right, so there is no national security concern with this. It's all about Trump's ego and about having something with his fucking name on it in D.C. That's what it is. He's so desperate to have some sort of monument to his existence that he's willing to shit all over, you know, other people's accomplishments in order to put his fucking flag there. Okay, that's what this is all about. You know, he's coming to the end of his life, which is coming soon, and he's worried that people are just going to shit all over him and forget all about him. Well, we're not going to forget about him. He's going to remain infamous in our history. That I can guarantee you. Okay, this last thing we want is a reminder in, you know, on a building or something like that with his name on it. We don't need that. Okay, his name will figure prominently in history books as one of the first tyrannical leaders this country had, you know. And let's see. Oh, Lindsey Graham opened his yap. Guess what he says? He blames Obama and Biden for what happened in Australia in their shooting. Lindsey's all hot and bothered again, folks. South Carolina's most embarrassing public figure, sorry Nancy, lumbered into Sean Hannity's propaganda show on Fox yesterday to share his incredibly stupid hot take on the horrific terrorist attack in Australia on Sunday, which claimed the lives of 15 Jewish revelers celebrating the first day of Hanukkah on a Sydney beach. Graham managed to contort and twist the narrative into a knot somehow involving both Barack Obama and Joe Biden. Connecting the dots is a fool's errand, which explains why Graham gave it a shot. But apparently it comes down to Democrats calling for sensible gun control here in the States, the splintering of ISIS from Al-Qaeda in Iraq back in 2014, the 2015 international Iranian nuclear deal, and the withdrawal of American troops from Afghanistan in 2021. Okay, Lindsey, whatever you say, buddy. Yeah, okay, Lindsey Graham, I mean, there's not a whole lot that man ever says that makes a whole lot of sense. Okay, I don't know why this guy is even... I'm sorry. It's all, I think what it is, it's all about laying a foundation to justify our continued need for guns in this country. That's what this is about, I think, you know. You can't just come out and say it, you know, that, oh, well, we need more guns in this country. You know, when he knows the backlash to saying that would be bad. So, falsely arrested civil rights leader takes her fight for justice to Congress. Shonique Williams knows firsthand how much injustice faces people in America's criminal justice system. She was falsely convicted and forced to spend 2 years in prison for a crime she didn't commit. She became a civil rights leader and a community organizer and is now taking her fight to Congress to push back against Donald Trump and the Republican Party's extremism. Thanks to Governor Gavin Newsom's new maps, she has the perfect opportunity now to add a blue seat and take back Congress from the GOP. Yeah, you see, that's, in other words, take notice here, Republicans, of what'll happen next year. Okay, you're going to have this person to look forward to. Okay. Trump designates street fentanyl as a WMD, which escalates militarization of the drug war. Donald Trump signed an executive order yesterday, which is all he ever does, designating the street drug fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction, raising the prospect of the United States engaging in all-out war to advance the wannabe dictator's imperial ambitions in South America. Jeffrey Singer, a physician and an expert on street drugs at the Cato Institute, a right-wing think tank, mind you, said people are dying from fentanyl in the U.S. because of widespread opioid addiction, not because cartels are deliberately weaponizing the drug. Quote, I don't know how you can equate smugglers meeting market demand and selling something illegal to someone who wants to buy it as an act of war, unquote, Singer said. You cannot, in fact, unless facts are meaningless and every presidential decree merely serves to rationalize one newfangled Trump policy objective or another. The MAGA cult leader clearly wants to overthrow Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, but he needs some sort of cover story that somehow gels with his quote-unquote America First nonsense. Declaring a particular drug a weapon of mass destruction and the people who ostensibly traffic it, quote, narcotic terrorists, unquote, apparently makes Donald's argument more believable in somebody's eyes, even if the narrative is completely detached from the actual truth. According to Vanda Felbab Brown, an expert on drug trafficking and addiction at the Brookings Institute, fentanyl, which accounts for the vast majority of U.S. drug deaths, isn't produced in Venezuela or smuggled in boats being targeted by U.S. military strikes in international waters. Unfortunately, facts no longer mean much. And with fentanyl now designated a WMD, all bets are off on what comes next. You know, this kind of does tail back into my suspicion that what we are seeing, supposedly what's happening off the coast of Venezuela, is not what we think, is not what we're being told is going on. Okay, let me put it to you simpler. Okay, say you were a drug dealer, you know, the kingpin or whatever they call them, and you wanted to sell your drugs to the United States. Okay, you send out a boat, gets targeted by the Navy, kaboom. Are you going to send out any more boats to continue to do the same thing and get kaboomed along the way by the Navy? Of course not. You're going to find a different way to get the drugs into the States. Okay, you're going to try to circumvent the Navy somehow, by air, by car, something else. So are we really going to believe the narrative we're being told here by the Trump regime here, that what they're doing is fighting narco terrorists? We don't even know who these people are. We're not even shown any fucking proof. We're just taking the word of the administration, which has no credibility, mind you. We're taking, you know, what they're saying, telling us, and some of us are believing it, and some of us are not. Because frankly, since day one, since January 1, okay, Trump has not said one fucking thing that was truthful to this country. Not one. Okay? Nothing. And I'm not, this isn't hyperbole. This is the truth. This is factual. He has not said one fucking thing to us that's truthful. Okay? So, why now do we take his word for, oh, this is a narco-terrorist war operation off Venezuela? I'm not believing it. I think this is something else. I think this is something else going on. I don't even believe that we actually hit any boats off the coast of Venezuela. I don't even think they're real. I think we might have hit one boat at one time. They recorded it, and they've been replaying that same incident over and over and saying it's a different boat each time. Okay? And that if there's any Navy vessels down there, they're just sitting there off the coast and they ain't doing a goddamn thing. Because, in my view, if these people have a brain in their head, they're not going to continue to send more boats up the coastline if they know they're going to get shelled by the Navy. Okay? Who would want to lose all that merchandise? Or that money that's in that little boat? And what can you tell from the video of these boats? Do you see anybody in there? Does it look like like some kind of a boat that they would be using to... I mean, it's so small, and you know, if it was that important, you know, do you think they would risk, you know, going up the coastline, knowing the Navy's out there waiting, and they can pinpoint a fucking hair on an ant's ass with a fucking missile? they always hit their target. Okay? No, I don't think that. I don't think they're that stupid. Look, for all these years that we've been fighting drugs in this country, they've always found a way to get that shit in here. And like what he said in this article, Venezuela is not the big reason why we have a drug problem in this country, okay? It isn't. There's often drugs coming in from other areas, you know, into America, and we're also making it right here in the States. So, you know, to put all our attention on Venezuela as the big reason why, no, okay, it ain't. It's just one of many ways that we're getting drugs into this country. But, you know, doing what you're doing in international waters, that's illegal. You didn't declare any fucking war, and, you know, and clearly he's trying to do something to that strip of land down there. Okay, he's got a you know, a raging boner for Venezuela for some fucking reason that we don't know about. It could be something totally, you know, like oil or some damn thing. Could be completely something else. It has nothing to do with drugs, but he's got a reason maybe to be down there doing what he's doing, if he's doing it. Okay, and I would think that the Venezuelan government would have something to say about that if these hits were being perpetrated off the coast. I mean, wouldn't they be crying to the UN about this? Wouldn't they be making press conferences about how they're ramping up military around the borders? You know what I'm saying? I mean, don't you think they would be trying to take steps to defend their part of the world against the United States Navy? And we haven't heard a thing about it. You know, so like I said, nothing makes sense about any of this shit. Okay, what's happening in Venezuela, if it's happening at all, does not make sense to me. And I don't believe a fucking thing Trump says. I really don't. So putting him aside, whatever, you know, Pete Hegseth and all these other jackasses in his administration are saying, I don't believe it, because they are all bootlickers. Every fucking one of them. Okay? They all kiss Trump's ass, and they're going to lie. What he tells them to say, that's what they're going to say. So we can't believe anything that they're saying, and you shouldn't either. Okay? Always be skeptical about what kind of videos you're being exposed to. And don't forget, we have the technology now to manufacture images and stuff like that. And if you don't believe me, get on YouTube and take a look at all the AI crap that people have been making and posting online. Some of it looks pretty convincing. And if you're, you know, if you're my age or something like that, you're going to have a hard time trying to see where the flaws are in AI imagery, okay? So if you make an AI thing and you make it look grainy, well, then you're just covering, you know, all the flags that would show you that it's AI. So we don't know. We cannot know. And I don't trust that Trump is being honest with us. You know, I don't. And that's Trump's fault, because he's lied so much, I don't have any reason to believe him. Okay? A smart person would never believe anything he says. So I'd rather be smart than stupid and fall for his shit again. Okay? You know, I'm not going to do it. I'm sorry. All right, let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This
is me.
me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
But I am a few person of your love. So I believe in you and you said you lost.
Oh, gather round America, come listen to the tale of folks who found a hero with a spray tan holy veil. A billionaire's salvation with a halo made of gold, who saves them from the headlines on the cable shows they're told. They're the 30-somethings, that magical percentage who will never change their minds. Through every crash indictment, every courtroom bind. Oh, they're the 30-somethings, a mystery to science, defying all the polls, predicting all of economics with Facebook in their souls. They get their news from graphics that could trigger seizures fast, and truck cab TikTok prophets telling truths that never last. Their feeds are stuffed with eagles, flags, and memes that keep on streaming, and articles by Patriot Dale, a bot who isn't even human seeming. Ask where they learned economics, they'll proudly say the street, but the street is just a podcast filmed in cars that smell like feet. Oh, they're the 30-somethings, some college, some not, but everyone's an expert, sure. Quoting drive-time radio hosts like Nobel Minds on tour. Yes, they're the 30-somethings, not rich, not poor, just a middle-income stew, except the billionaires who love a tax cut or two. Mostly rural, mostly older, mostly white, it's true. But hey, that isn't everyone, it's just what stats construe. They trust the news they like and call the rest deep state or lies, and vote with such devotion it could fossilize. They're steady, they're committed, they're the base that never bends. If Trump drove off a cliff, they'd blame the cliff again. They claim the market's rigged, that everything's a global plot, while clipping Walmart coupons like they're trading blue chip stock. They shout freedom 40 times but can't define the thing, and facts that might correct them never make it through the ring. But don't worry, they'll send you a meme that proves it. Yeah, they're the 30-somethings, America's eternal 30-ish%, unaffected by indictments, scandals, or events. Oh, those 30-somethings, forever Trump adjacent, loyal till the end. They live inside a funhouse where the truth can't quite ascend. So brace yourself, America, their votes are locked in tight, and every single election year they'll show up out of spite. Predictable as sunrise, oblivious to proof. Those faithful 30-somethings choose the same disaster in the voting booth.
Girl, but I am a few person of your love, so I will leave you when you said you had lost.
I thought I'd just get head spins. not nicotine poisoning.
Oh my god. His vape taped.
I wanted to be social. I didn't want the addiction that took over.
I thought it was just a bit of fun, but not being able to breathe because of lung damage is definitely not fun.
It's proven that vapes cause real harm. Every vape is a hit to your health. For more proof, search vaping harms.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it. It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Welcome back, everybody. All right, here's a story here from Mediaite here. Small print here. I got to use my glasses. This is written by Michael Luciano. Titled, Speaker Johnson refuses to condemn Trump's callous remarks about Rob Reiner's murder. Mike Johnson declined an opportunity to rebuke comments by President Donald Trump regarding the murders of Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner. The famous film director and his wife were found stabbed to death in their Brentwood home on Sunday. Their son, Nick Reiner, has been arrested in connection with the killings. Trump responded to the murders by blaming Rob Reiner, a longtime liberal activist and critic of the president. A very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away together with his wife, Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness, and with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before. May Rob and Michelle rest in peace. When asked about what I just read, his remarks on Monday, Trump doubled down and called Reiner, quote, a deranged person, unquote. Trump's reaction was condemned across this political spectrum, but not by Johnson. At the Capitol on Monday, Manu Raju of CNN and Eric Michael Garcia of The Independent caught up with the speaker, who could not get away from the two reporters fast enough. Quote, Mr. Speaker, do you condemn Trump's post about Rob Reiner, unquote, Raju asked, before Garcia immediately followed with his question. Quote, what are your thoughts about what President Trump said about Rob Reiner at his press conference today? Unquote, Garcia inquired. Quote, I don't do ongoing commentary about everything that's said by everybody in government every day, unquote, Johnson replied. It's not everybody, it's just Trump. We just want you to comment on what Trump said, not what everybody said, just Trump. Okay, so he tried deflecting that. Quote, "That's the President of the United States," unquote, Raju observed. Quote, "We are trying to bring down health care costs for the American people. They're very important votes, very important issues, and that's what we're focused on," unquote. Really? You're trying to bring down health care costs, huh? Tell that to the people whose premiums are going up. Okay. Quote, "A lot of your members are criticizing him," unquote, Raju replied. Quote, "I gave commentary this morning and you all heard it," unquote. You see, this he's just deflecting. Deflect, run for as fast as you can. Okay. You know, it can't be easy to be in Johnson's shoes because he's not allowed to say what he really wants to say. And he's been told already what he can't say by Trump. That makes him a very ineffective House Speaker, doesn't it? The guy can't think on his feet. He's not allowed to, like everybody else that works for that bastard. Okay? They're not allowed to. So, you know, it's not a surprise, I think, that, you know, they couldn't get a fucking answer out of him. But it's not, you know, it should really cement the fact that what you're hearing coming out of anybody that works for this guy is not going to be truthful, or it's going to be flat out denial. Okay? So that's why I say I don't believe anything that's going on in Venezuela. I don't, unless I see it for my own self and my own eyes. I'm not going to believe that we're hitting boats out there off the coast of Venezuela. I don't believe that the Navy is out there in mass. I think maybe they got one ship out there, you know, if that. And, you know, they're just pretending that they're doing stuff, you know. I don't think it's happening. Let's see. This story from The Independent. BBC vows to fight Trump's $10 billion defamation lawsuit over Panorama edit latest. President Trump claimed the broadcaster intentionally, maliciously, and deceptively doctored a speech he made in a Panorama edit. The BBC will fight a $10 billion defamation lawsuit filed by Trump over its Panorama speech edit, the broadcaster has said. President Trump is claiming the broadcaster, quote, intentionally, maliciously, and deceptively, unquote, doctored a speech he made before the U.S. Capitol riots in January 2021 to appear as if he had incited the violence. In a statement, the corporation said it would not be changing its previous stance on defending the case, but refused to comment further. The BBC previously apologized for the edit, but refused to pay the president compensation. Mr. Trump's lawyer said on Monday that he had filed a $10 billion lawsuit against the BBC in a Florida court for claims of defamation and violating trade practices. It comes as Sir Keir Starmer is under growing pressure to intervene as top politicians urged him to back the UK's national broadcaster. Liberal Democrat leader Sir Ed Davey said Prime Minister should, quote, stand up for the BBC against Trump's outrageous legal threat, unquote. But former Culture Secretary Baroness Nikki Morgan warned that it was the BBC's board which, quote, needs to get a grip, unquote, saying Mr. Trump's lawsuit was, quote, unquote, inevitable. A new free trade agreement between the UK and South Korea has successfully averted impending tariff increases on British exports, securing vital trade links. This crucial pact is set to safeguard £2 billion worth of UK exports, which were otherwise facing higher tariffs from January as a temporary arrangement with Seoul was nearing its expiry. So, you know, yeah, anybody that says anything about Trump he doesn't like, you know, expect you're going to get subpoenaed or some fucking thing, you know, or okay, this is what he does, you know. And if I was, you know, the head of BBC, I'd say go fuck yourself, Trump, okay? This is our fucking news agency. This isn't in the United States. This is in Great Britain, we do what we fucking want here, okay? You know, and I don't see how anybody in England right now would give two shits about any gripe that Trump has about what's being reported about him through that news agency. Let's see. There's something about Ukraine. Ukrainian drones struck a Russian oil platform in the Caspian Sea for the third time in a matter of days, security sources say. Ukraine has hit Russian oil platforms in the Caspian Sea with long-range drones 3 times in a matter of days, a security source told Business Insider on Monday. In the most recent attack, drones struck a platform at the Korchygan oil and gas condensate field, causing damage at the facility and forcing it to halt production, said the source in the security service of Ukraine, who was only authorized to speak anonymously to discuss sensitive military developments. The drone attack is the latest against Russia's energy sector, a critical source of income for Moscow that helps fuel its war efforts in Ukraine. Kiev has ramped up its deep strike campaign on key oil and gas facilities and is now targeting infrastructure in the Caspian Sea, hitting activities there for the third time in less than a week. The source in the SBU, Ukraine's main internal security agency, said that drones struck the Filovsky oil production platform last Thursday, marking the first time Kiev had caused damage to Russian oil infrastructure in the Caspian Sea. The following day, Ukrainian drones struck the Filovsky platform again and also hit the Korchygan platform. The SBU source said that the attacks caused damage at both facilities and forced a suspension of operations. So, you know, Ukraine's putting up, you know, a hell of a fight for a war that Putin thought would be over in, you know, a matter of weeks. Okay? And honestly, you know, Ukraine's getting help from other countries other than us. And I think Zelensky's doing the right thing. I mean, he can forget that the U.S. is going to be standing with him anymore, which is sad because there's still a lot of people in this country who think that what Zelensky's doing is right. Because Putin started that fucking fight. He lied to the whole world about what he was doing with all them military assets approaching the border. He lied. He said, oh, this is a training exercise. And then then he decides they're going across the border. Well, Jesus Christ, if there's any way to start a war, that's it. Ukraine knew this was going to happen. They knew that all that military asset being there, the tanks and all that was going to be a prelude to a war, but nobody listened. Nobody believed the Russians would be that stupid. Okay? But Putin was that stupid, and he went ahead and started the fight. And here we are after all these years, and they're still fighting it, and you know, it's one of them kind of things. And it's sad, you know, that Ukraine is getting messed up pretty bad over there. At the end of the day, you know, it's going to take a lot of time to rebuild what they've lost in that country. And I read somewhere where that big dome that goes over where that power plant had a meltdown there. Remember, I can't remember the name of it now off the top of my head, but they built a dome to contain the radiation inside of it. Well, now they're saying it's damaged and it no longer contains the radiation, so it's spilling out into the air again because it got hit by a drone and created enough damage to put a hole in it, basically. So I don't know. I think they're trying to fix it. Chernobyl, that's the name of the fucking thing. Yeah. So the dome over the Chernobyl site, you know, is damaged, and they built it. They said it would last 100 years. It didn't even last 2. Okay, because of Russia. And by hitting that, and this is the way I look at it. Russia hit that dome, causing radiation spillage. To me, that's an act of war, because this not only affects Ukraine, it affects the entire world, because now radiation levels will spike again. Okay? This is an attack on everybody. It's like dropping a nuke without actually using a nuclear bomb. They hit that facility, and all the radiation that was stored up inside that, that's now going back out into the atmosphere. Okay? We never should have let it get that far. Okay? The minute they started targeting Chernobyl, trying to, put military assets around it, okay, the rest of the world should have stood up and said, no, you're not going to control that. That's a hotbed of disaster waiting to happen, and you're not going to put your tanks there. Well, I saw this coming. That's why I was, at the beginning of this fight, I was so adamant that we take the aggressive posture to push Russia back. Okay, send in the jets, send in the Navy, push Putin's forces back. Everybody saying, oh, you're going to start World War III. Well, what do you think he's doing? What do you think Putin is doing? He's trying to start World War III. Okay? He was trying to do just that. He was daring us to intervene. And I told you, he ain't going to start in World War III. He ain't that dumb. Okay? Because he knows he'd lose everything. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Nobody wins in that kind of a war. So he doesn't want to die. He's like Trump. He's a narcissist. He wants something left behind for Russia to remember him by. And that's what this is all about, essentially, is him trying to get his last hurrah from the days of the Soviet Union. Okay, that's what he's doing. He wants to be remembered for accomplishing this fucking fight in Ukraine. You see? And that's the reason why I'm saying he wouldn't have started World War III over this. He would have backed down. I really think he would have. But Trump is there now. And Trump is letting him get away with all kinds of shit. Do you hear him saying anything more about trying to broker peace between the two? No, because Putin ain't listening to that. And he ain't got no clout over Putin. He ain't got no clout over Zelensky. Okay? So the fight goes on. And Trump knows he's the odd man out in this situation because nobody trusts him. Nobody believes him. They know he's a grifter. They know that if you make a deal with him, somewhere you're losing in that deal. He wins out, you're going to lose somewhere in that. Okay? That's what Elon Musk found out about Trump. Okay? He might be your friend until he's done with you, and then you're out on the fucking street. So, yeah, this war ain't going to stop. And, Zelensky, these two countries have really essentially drawn the rest of the world into it. So you could, in some way, call this a de facto World War III. It's just not nuclear yet. But the fact that that Putin hit a goddamn sensitive area where there's radiation certainly makes it seem like it's a nuclear incident because now, like I said, there's going to be radiation spiking up in the whole area around that. And where the wind blows it, it's going to affect everybody. And, if we had a president worth his ass, he may have prevented something of this. There might have been some kind of ceasefire where they could have got the two to sit down and hammer out a deal or something, where it wouldn't continue. But Trump has no interest in that because he knows he can't get anything out of it. He can't stop it. So that's why he's sitting there. I want a Nobel Peace Prize. All this, he's trying to claim victory over something he ain't won. Okay? He'll never get that. He'll never get that respect. That tin-plated piece of shit that they gave him there, it ain't going to mean anything. Only to him it means something. And they gave the kid his lollipop. And that's really all it is. It's just that shit. So I'm going to end this show here on a good story. Because I think, we really can use some good news about something. This is from the Good News Network, written by Andy Corbley, entitled Christmas Miracle for a 6-year-old with Leukemia Who's Now Thriving After T-Cell Therapy Instead of Chemo. Christmas 2025 is better and brighter for one family whose daughter is on the mend from a previously untreatable form of childhood cancer. Christmas 2024 saw then 5-year-old Breen Allinger isolated in a child cancer ward, having been diagnosed with precursor B-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia, which harbored a rare an aggressive mutation that rendered standard chemotherapies and surgeries ineffective. Quote, "You think the worst immediately," unquote, said Justin Alinger, Breen's father. Quote, "I didn't know if I was going to have a daughter by the end of the year," unquote. Breen's care team from the Roswell Park Oishai Children's Pediatric Cancer and Blood Disorders Program then presented the family with the option of the Nobel Prize-winning CAR T-cell cancer therapy as an option. Leukemia may have cost Breen one Christmas, but thanks to this program, she gained many, many more. Quote, "I look at her and I see a miracle," unquote, said Megan Higman, MD, PhD, a pediatric oncologist at Roswell Park, specializing in blood cancers. Quote, "That's because this kid 5 years ago wouldn't have been alive, and now she is alive, thriving, and just wow," unquote. Dr. Higman and her Roswell Park colleagues recommend CAR T-cell therapy even for their youngest patients, who can benefit not only for its efficacy but also its safety compared to chemo. Quote, "Chemotherapy is so toxic," unquote, said A.J. Gupta, also a pediatric oncologist at Roswell Park. Quote, "We're trying to make it so that patients have a better quality of life even after they're done with treatment. And so I feel strongly that approaches that can change the immune system, like CAR T-cells, can actually do this without causing long-term side effects," unquote. CAR T-cell therapy involves extracting T-cells, a type of immune cell, from a patient's blood and then taking them into a specialized lab. From there, scientists engineer the cells to recognize and kill cancer cells. The cells are then duplicated by the millions and replaced in the patient's body through an IV infusion. The cells are processed in Roswell Park's newly expanded Good Manufacturing Practice Engineering and Cell Manufacturing Facility, for short GEM, one of the largest facilities of its kind in the United States and a transformative advancement in cancer research and treatment. Quote, "I hope for other children that have this mutation pop up that they're able to collaborate with Dr. Higman and the others and try these same therapies that were successful for Breen," unquote, Alinger said. Quote, "I hope that she's able to help save lives for other children as well that go through this," unquote. The results of CAR T-cell therapy so far have been highly promising, with acute leukemia remaining undetectable in more than 80% of patients following their treatment. As of now, CAR T-cell therapy is FDA approved only for certain types of blood cancer, but Roswell Park is also working to expand the use of the treatment against other cancers, from rare types of sarcoma to the second most common cancer in kids, which are brain tumors. Quote, "Our next job is how can we get them into more solid tumors or into places that it's hard to get to because the immune system doesn't really get there as well as it should," unquote, Higman said. Quote, "Like the brain, chemo often doesn't get there because of the way that the blood-brain barrier works. So what we really need to do is build more things to keep it around for everybody," unquote. Yeah, and so we have an administration that wants to cut research and funding for things like this. And you see, this is what, the thing that this person described as a miracle will not happen under this administration because they don't care about little kids that have leukemia or any type of cancer, all right? Now, the people out there that are all pro-life and everything like that seem to be pretty quiet about it, that they, the cancer research be stopped or defunded in such a way that, oh, that money's got to go to the rich, okay? What does that say about them? That they're so steadfast on, anti-abortion and stuff like that. Well, if they're born and they got cancer and you're okay with them dying then, how can you be so adamant about abortion not being right? You can't have both ways. You either care about life or you don't. Okay? You either care about a person growing up and being something to contribute to society, or you don't. You know, you can't have it both ways. You can't be that hypocritical. That's why nobody believes you, nobody listens to you, or nobody trusts you when you talk about abortion, anti-abortion. It's wrong, it's against the Bible. It's all okay. You can apply that argument to everything that happens to people that end up getting them killed. And you're all for it. You know, guns, war, you know, people coming down with cancer and dying. No, not a word from you people about that, but oh, we got to make sure every baby is born, right? Okay, it's like, well, why? So you can have more things to bury later on down the road in cemeteries? Is that why you want it? I mean, you got this fetish for big cemeteries? You know? I can't understand people's reasoning when it comes to that. And I just, like I said, you know, if you're going to be a person that cares about life, you have to care about it from birth to elderly age to death, okay? You have to care about it all the way. You know, you can't just pick when and where you can kill somebody. Okay, or you know what I'm saying? You can't just protect the birth, but then it's okay to send them off to war years later when they're just teenagers. Okay, that's ridiculous. You know, people that are pro-life but they don't stop wars are hypocritical. They're just doing it because they have nothing to do on a fucking weekday or something like that. That's what they do. You know, these people are freaks in our society, and they should be treated as such because they don't have the reasoning skills to back up their concerns. They can't answer the question, you know, why abortion is bad, but dying in a war is better. You know, I don't know. Anyway, like I said, that was a good thing, good news to talk about. You know, I'm hoping that we can continue to make strides in cancer, you know, fighting cancer. My mother died from that years ago. And I don't think there's anybody that hasn't been touched in some way by cancer. Either you had it or you knew somebody that did. Okay, that's the way it is today. Everybody should be like that. I mean, it's because it's all around us. Any one of us can come down with it without warning. You know, all the checkups you get, colonoscopies and all that, it might be fine for the moment, but in between those examinations, it could come up. You know, that's just the way it is. You know, you can prepare for a cold all your life and take vitamin C, but one day you're going to get sick, and it's just not because you didn't try to prevent it. It's just that it's, you know, you're going to get it. And like I said, with this attack here in Ukraine that spread more radiation out there, you can expect cancer rates to start climbing up again now. Okay. And unfortunately, that's something that, you know, we're going to have to contend with because we can't seem to use common sense about, you know, how to treat our environment. Nobody cares about it, apparently. All right. That's it for today. So I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. So subscribe, comment, share. Keep your ears open for health-related issues. And it's Christmas season, and be happy and giving. You know, try to keep your spirits up, you know, probably by watching less news if you ask me. And I'll talk to you guys later, so take care.